Hello students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mr. Stanley Ombogo. So dear students, as we normally start, I believe that you are in good health and strength wherever you're watching us from, and this is another interesting session that we have, and in this session we are going to talk about oral poetry or oral songs. So we're going to introduce oral poetry by defining what oral poetry is. Then we are also going to look at some of the features of oral poetry. Uh, and lastly, we are going to look at the classification of oral poetry or songs. So uh, by the end of this session, you should be able to define oral poetry. You are also supposed to be able to mention or list at least 5 features of oral poetry, and lastly you should know all the subgenres of oral poetry that is under the classification of oral poetry. Now, to start, I'll first of all define what poetry is. So, poetry refers to the message that is, normally arranged in a verse as opposed to a prose. So, when these words are rendered in a musical form, they become a song or oral poetry. So, indeed, any poem can become a song if appropriate music or melodies are added. So, another thing is that oral poetry comprises of the following forms of presentation. So we have got different forms of presentation for oral poetry. And another thing, dear students, it is something that is done by word of mouth. So it is a spoken art. That is the reason why it is called oral poetry. Remember, anything that is oral is anything that is done by the mouth. So these are the following forms of presentation that oral poetry comprises of. So the first one is recitation. So recitation is the presentation that is close to ordinary speech, but with recognizable beat, pitch, pace, and voice projection. So another form of presentation that we have is chant, or what we call declamation. So this is a performance that is recited with premeditated gestures and musical gestures. So the next form of presentation that we have in oral poetry is songs. So when we talk about songs in oral poetry, we are referring to words delivered musically with a pleasant arrangement of musical notes and regular beat performed by singing and using accompaniments such as flutes, drums, whistles, and shakers. So there are a number of musical accompaniments that we have apart from the examples that we have uh, given. So the next form of presentation is epic. So epic is a long narrative poem telling of a hero's deeds that combines recitation, chanting, and singing. So epic is a combination of all the three, that is recitation, chant, and singing. So the three forms of presentation what make epic. So on to the next thing. Let us look at performance of our songs. That is performance of oral poetry or songs. So it is only human being who sing. So the life of humans is marked and permitted with song and dance. So the African is particularly more musical, and virtually all the life of you know a human being is accompanied by song and dance. sometimes working leisure, rites of passage, religion, etc., etc. So most of the singing is done in a given rhythm and accompanied by dancing. This dancing range from simple nodding of the head, tapping of the feet, and clapping of the hand to vigorous body movements and group formations. So still on performance, the performance is usually led by a single person, the soloist or a group leads the rest. Sometimes instrumentations accompanies singing and dancing. And when we talk about instrumentation, then this means we use musical instruments such as flutes, shakers, drums, and so on. In some communities, songs are performed according to age and sex, though there are instances where all comes together in song and dance. So on the whole, that is on the whole versatile nature of songs allowed for a variety of performance, and there seems to be no boundaries or limit of creativity. So let us look at some of the features of oral poetry or songs. So the first one is that they are interactively performed. That is, they address a person or people and expect them to respond. So sometimes we call that a call and response. They have call and response. So these songs are also used for a specific purpose. For example, we have poetry. I mean, that is wedding poetry. We have work poetry. There is war poetry, funeral poetry that we also call dirges, and so on. So another feature is that these songs usually focus on current situations or occurrences. So, for example, if maybe people are nearing election period, you will find that uh, we have artists who compose political songs. So that means that when they do that, they are focusing on the current situation or occurrences in the community. So another feature is that oral poetry derive their content from the immediate environment of the performer. So they are, produced and created in the immediate environment of uh, the performer. Another thing is that they involve use of colorful language and strong imagery, which is easy to follow. Then they also have a fixed structure, that is, they are arranged in separate stanzas or verses. So they are not arranged in prose. They have separate stanzas or verses. So the last feature is that there is the use of mnemonic devices in oral poetry. So when I talk about mnemonic devices, I'm talking about uh, devices like alliteration, assonance, consonants, ideophones, etc., etc. So the next thing before we conclude, we have a classification of songs. So, talking about classification of songs, in some communities, songs are classified along gender and age, such that we have songs for boys, girls, and so on. But this classification is a bit isolated, and the more common one, the more common one is done accordingly to the functions. So the main function of songs, of course, entertainment, but each category has its specific functions. The classes of songs are as follows. Now, talking about the classification or the subgenres. So we have lullabies, there are work songs, we have war songs or war poetry, there is dirges, we have political songs, hunting songs, love songs, initiation songs, or sometimes we call them circumcision songs. Then we have children's songs, and so on. So there are, other oral poetry, other subgenres of oral poetry that are not very common. Genres like teasing songs, for example, they are not very common. Of course, there are those that are common that we haven't included. Uh, you know, Songs like praise songs or worship songs, those are common ones because they are used a lot, especially in churches. So, dear students, that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you for staying tuned till the end. Remember to always keep it easy, Limo. Until next time, bye.